Hello, my name is Steve Waldron, and I'm the GIS coordinator and instructor here in the city of Richmond. The purpose of this training video, named Publishing with Pro, is to orient city employees to the process of publishing from their desktop GIS to ArcGIS Online. So let's get started. Why would someone need to publish? Well, the scenario is you've created a GIS layer using ArcGIS Pro on your desktop computer. And you need to be able to add that layer to an interactive web map that you can share with the public or coworkers. You have two options. You can either publish the entire map, or you can be more specific by publishing just specific GIS layers. Something else I would mention about the Publishing with ArcGIS Pro course is that there are certain prerequisites we assume the viewer has gone through. We have an initial Richmond GIS program video that provides an overview of the entire program we have here in the city, followed by the Intro to ArcGIS Online Part 1 and follow-up Part 2 videos which teach people and orient them to the city's implementation of ArcGIS Online. Additionally, some of us, cartographers, other GIS professionals, may have ArcGIS Pro installed on their computer, in which case they should have taken the Migrating to Pro course. And then this Publishing with ArcGIS Pro course can be thought of as a part two for that subject matter. Here's a slide that everybody has seen in the previous videos. Let's review it. The cloud, the cloud on this diagram represents ArcGIS Online. It is a cloud service. It lives in ArcGIS. I'm sorry, it lives in Amazon Web Services. It is managed by ESRI. In the cloud, we've all learned how to make web maps. We've also learned that we can search for and find GIS layers that also live in the cloud. But sometimes there are layers that don't exist in the cloud, such as ArcGIS Pro users may create something brand new on their computer. Perhaps it's a output from a special project they've been working on. And they want to take that data and share it with the public or with their customers by providing an interactive web map that they can use to review and look at the information. The problem is the data they've created on their desktop is not available currently to add to a web map. So what we're going to do today is show ArcGIS Pro users how they can publish their own data up into the cloud, and from there, they can add that data into a web map. What this slide shows is the steps for publishing an entire web map. So in other words, this web map has all of these layers in it. And if we want to publish the whole thing at once, we can go to the Share menu and we can publish a web map. We're going to walk through all of these slides up through slide 6 or 7, and then I will demonstrate the publishing of a web map. But the slide deck, which we have here, will document the steps for you. Some things to point out. In this process of publishing a web map, it's one click, everything's going to get published. Local sources, meaning sources that are on your computer, are going to get copied up to ArcGIS Online. Any data in your web map that are being referenced from ArcGIS Online, as we've been teaching people to do, will not be copied into ArcGIS Online because they already exist there. A web map is going to be created automatically, and the hosted feature layer containing the data that did get copied will be added into the map. What the slide is pointing out as well is that the city's GIS data is usually going to be stored in the Virginia State Plane Coordinate System. And that's what the coordinate system we see here at the bottom of ArcGIS Pro. We'll teach you how to deal with a special condition that may arise. So the documented steps are laid out. Step 1, from the Share menu, you'll click Web Map. Then you'll have to fill out the dialog. You give it a name, a summary, and tags. This is also known as the metadata. You'll choose the option to copy all data. You'll identify a folder that you want to save it to. In the ArcGIS Online Part 2 class, we talked a lot about using folders and naming conventions to organize your content. And a little later, we'll discuss about sharing the data that you publish. When you hit the publish button, before you push the share button, you should analyze the data. So in the dialog, step 3 will be click Analyze, and then you'll look for any issues. If you see this issue, service layer has a different projection and a red X, you can correct this by clicking on the ellipsis and choosing the option to update map to use base map coordinate system. It's a simple fix. You just click on that, and then the last step is you click Share. When it's done, there will be a message that appears at the bottom of the tool saying successfully shared web map. There's a link there, manage the web map, that you can click on, and it will prompt you to sign in to ArcGIS Online if you are not currently logged into ArcGIS Online. So let's see a demo of how this works real time. Here I am in ArcGIS Pro, and we have the planning districts. I've got some council districts. If we view the list by data source in the table of contents, it will show us the location of where these live. So both of these data sources are living on my C drive. They're not being streamed to my map from ArcGIS Online. Because they're local, they will be copied up into ArcGIS Online for me if I want to publish this entire map. So let's publish it. We need to go to the Share menu because we're sharing it, and we choose the option Web Map. When we click on Web Map, the Share as Web Map dialog will appear in the pane area. We're going to leave the name Local Sources Map. For the summary, we'll say publishing a web map that will copy all data. For tags, I'm not going to be very creative, although I know you would be if this was real work. I'm going to use the word test and publish. And it's okay because when I'm done, I'm going to clean up after myself after this class is finished. Configuration, we want to copy all data. What's the destination folder we want to save it to? I have a special folder I want to use. It's called the Story Map Publishing with Pro folder. And I'll go ahead and share it with the city of Richmond, but I will not share it with everyone. I'm almost ready. I need to click Analyze. Here, it analyzes, it doesn't find any problems except for this one. So we have to click on the ellipsis here for the options and choose to update map to use base map coordinate system. Notice it changes to a green check. Notice the lat longs are now being shown and we can share this information. So I'll hit the share button. The progress bar will show you that it's being processed, and when it's finished, it will show you a message as to whether or not it was successful. Here we get a green check mark, successfully shared web map on today's date. Here's the link we could click on if we wanted to access it, but I've already got reference to it. So here, let's go to ArcGIS Online, and I'm logged in with the same account I'm using for Pro. This is the folder called Story Map, Publishing with Pro. That was the folder I chose to publish to. And the name of the web map, I left Local Sources Map, and we can see Local Sources Map has a feature layer in it, and it has today's date, that at the date of the time we made this recording. So what it's done is it's created a web map, it's copied all the data up, and all the data is being referenced in this map. Let's take a look at the slide. So this slide shows what we just looked at. Got our web map. We've got our GIS layers from Pro. They were all packaged together. If we were to click, and we will, when we click on Local Sources Map, it will take us to the overview page, and we're going to be able to see that the planning district and the council district were both packaged up and included in this layer. So let's go back to ArcGIS Online. I'm going to open the overview page for the feature layer. And we can see here under layers, the two layers exist. Let's go back. Let's open the web map. I'm going to open it in the map viewer. And here we could see the data sources. They're symbolized exactly like they were in ArcGIS Pro, as we see here. Here's what that web map looks like. So you can publish the entire web map. I'm sorry, you can publish the entire map from ArcGIS Pro up to ArcGIS Online with one click. It'll copy everything in your map. Publishing Pro maps that reference ArcGIS Online layers. What we can say about this is, remember we've been teaching everybody, when you use the Add Data button, we want you to navigate to the portal, which is ArcGIS Online. We want you to navigate to My Organization, and then we want you to search for the GIS layers that we make available for everyone to use. So People should be accessing that data from ArcGIS Online in their web map. If you were to publish the map using sources from ArcGIS Online, it's not going to make a copy of the data like we just saw. Um, it will just reference that data from ArcGIS Online in the new web map that gets created without having to make an additional copy. So let's demo that so you can see how it works. Here I am back in Pro. I'm going to change maps. I'm going to go to ArcGIS Online Sources map. If I go to List by Data Source, I can see that this data is being streamed to my desktop in Pro from ArcGIS Online. It's not local. So let's share this web map. It's going to be called ArcGIS Online Sources Map. Summary: will not copy data sources to the resulting map. For tags, I'm not going to be creative again. I'm just going to call it test. Publishing. Notice I don't have the option to choose to copy. It says reference and I can't change it. So the system's smart. It knows what's happening here. Now the folder, the destination, is going to be the same folder. So I've got one called Story Map, Publishing with Pro. I'm not going to share it with everyone. I'm only going to share it with Richmond. I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to fix the coordinate system again. And I'm going to share. What I expect will happen is that the publishing won't take quite as long because it doesn't have to package up and make copies of all the data and send it into the cloud. As I suspected, this went much faster. So we have success. If we go back to the presentation and I go back to my workspace, I can now see we have a new web map that was automatically created called ArcGIS Online Sources Map. There are no additional hosted feature layers. That's because it didn't create that because the data it uses is already existing in ArcGIS Online. Okay, it looks exactly the same. The data sources are here. We published the entire web map with one click of the button. Okay, you don't have to publish an entire map. You can publish a single layer from your Pro map. This may be the more common workflow than publishing a whole map, where just a single layer from your Pro project, maybe you did an analysis and you've got some results, and it's that one layer that you want to publish. So in this example, you can see we're zoomed in an area known as Carytown, and we're going to pretend we did a study of the Carytown streetlights. So we can see these yellow polygons or where all the street lights are. And we're going to publish it as a single layer. The way you do this is a little different. You go to the share menu as normal, but instead of sharing a web map, you want to share a web layer. If you have multiple layers in your web map, you can alternately, and maybe it's a better way, you can right click on the layer you want to publish and go down and choose sharing. And you can share it as a web layer. Then you fill out the dialog you analyze it, and you publish it. Let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to toggle back to Pro. I'm going to change my map, and we can see this yellow layer. This is the Carytown Streetlight Study results. Okay, I want to be able to create an interactive web map that shows these results. I'm going to right click on the layer I want to publish. I'm going to go to sharing, and I'm going to share as web layer. It's the same dialog we had before. For summary, I'm going to call it Carytown Streetlight Study. I'm going to give it some good tags though this time. I'm going to use Carytown Streetlight and demo. The layer type is going to be feature. The location, I'm going to publish it to the same folder I used previously. Story map, publishing with Pro. I want it to go in there. I'm not going to share it with everyone. I'm only going to share it with the City of Richmond organization. So let's analyze it. I didn't get any errors this time. So let's publish. You can see a message. It's consolidating the data. It's uploading it. So it is making a copy of this data that resides in my Pro project and copying it to the cloud. Once it's done, we'll go into ArcGIS Online, open a web map, and we'll search for and add this layer to our map. Okay, it's finished successfully. Let's go back to the presentation. Here we have a web map, and it doesn't have any data layers in it yet. So let's use the add data. I'm going to search for layers. I'm going to search my organization. And one of the things you will notice is that when you publish something and you go into ArcGIS Online, it's pretty smart. It kind of checks and it knows what is the latest data that has appeared in ArcGIS Online, and it throws it up to the top. So we can see Carytown Streetlight Study layer exists. But we could do a search. Carytown. And look, that tag word I used is coming in handy because here is the Carytown Streetlight Study. So you might have a coworker. You tell them, do a search for Carytown streetlights. And guess what? They're going to be able to find it. So we can add it to our map. And voila, I've got an interactive web map that people can use to investigate and explore the results of my analysis. We published it from ArcGIS Pro. Briefly, I want to point out something that's covered in the sharing or publishing process. In that dialogue you have to fill out, I chose to share with City of Richmond. I did not choose everyone. Remember that if you want that layer to be accessible outside the City of Richmond, you're going to need to check everyone so that it will be publicly available. That's all I really wanted to point out on this slide. Publishing a group layer. When you become experienced in ArcGIS Pro, you may start grouping layers in your table of contents. What that means is you can see there's an indent here in this slide called planning layers, and we've got 2 layers in it. So they're grouped. If we were to check and uncheck this mark here, both layers will turn off and on. So it's just a way, it's a technique people who use Pro might use in order to control the ease with which they can turn things off and on. Well, you can publish a group layer by right-clicking on the group and not the individual layers and choosing to share. Because we're talking about publishing, I'm going to go back to our intro to ArcGIS Online Part 2 class, where we made a big deal on our standards and rules when we told everybody, do not publish data that is not yours. Okay, so now that you know how to publish from Pro, we're asking you, do not republish council districts or parcels or things of that nature. Someone else is already doing it. We don't need duplicate copies of data. And you can trust that the layers everyone's using from ArcGIS Online are being kept up to date. You should only ever publish a GIS layer that you create. It's owned by you. So the Carytown streetlight study, I created that layer. I can publish that layer. We have to remind you of things. After you publish a layer, you should go to the overview page and you should update the metadata. Make sure there's a description. There won't be initially. There'll be a short summary that you provided when you published, but you need to add a description. You should add a thumbnail. You should review your tags. Maybe you forgot some tags and you can add some if you want. So don't forget metadata. Very important to do after you publish. For your tags, hey, you saw how I used Carytown and streetlight. And when I typed in Carytown, for example, boom, I found that layer. You should also include department, your department's name. If it's a test layer, make sure you're using the word test. Okay, this is all part of metadata. The thumbnail. Remember from our part 2 class, you can go in ArcGIS Online, you can do a search for thumbnail, and you can modify that PowerPoint, save it out as an image, and use it as your thumbnail. It makes it look official, professional, and authoritative. Also, if something is really important to you after you publish it, why not go to the overview page, go to settings, and mark it for delete protection. That way you won't accidentally delete it. You'll have to go out of your way to remove that setting before you delete it. So these are all things involved with post publishing that you need to keep in mind. And wrapping things up here with the last 2 slides, we do have I guess, a warning for everybody. So you can use different base maps. If you're using the Bing map, for whatever reason, we don't know why, Pro won't publish if you're using a Bing map as your base map. All you have to do is change it to one of the other base maps and you can publish. And last, let's take a look at the training curriculum. Where have you been and where you might go? So you've already been through the ArcGIS Online learning plan, right? You got your account, you've taken part 1, you've taken part 2, you may have done the learning plan. You did that before you took the ArcGIS Pro pathway. So you took the migrating from ArcMap to Pro, and maybe you did some learning plans. And now what you've done is you've just completed an elective, which teaches you how to publish from ArcGIS Pro into ArcGIS Online. And that concludes this training video. We would appreciate it if you would send an email to us to confirm that you have taken or watched this video. Our email is dit-gis@richmondgov.com. Thank you.